Hey there! My challenge items for this week are these craft wood pieces from the Dollar Tree. Welcome to my channel, Craft Central Designs. Let me share with you what I created with these craft woods. These are very inexpensive, easy, and fun DIYs that are pretty and also functional. This one is a Christmas one. Although you can make this project for any season or just every day. Welcome to my channel today. I hope you enjoy this video and will consider becoming a subscriber if you are not currently. Today's tutorial is a part of my weekly feature where I take one Dollar Tree item and challenge myself to create 3 different projects. This one is a photo holder, as you can see. And as I mentioned, I created that in a Christmas theme. And this, you're probably saying, what in the world is that? Let me show you what this is. You'll be a little bit surprised how cute this is once you see how I created it. And this is a means of taking those old calendar pages that you love, but you don't know what in the world to do with now that they're not current with the dates. So I'm going to show you what you can do with those calendar pages, those pretty ones that you just can't seem to throw away. Okay, for project number 1. We are going to be creating something for your craft table. Now, as you all know, I am a big-time crafter, and I always have things falling on the floor, specifically deco mesh or ribbons when I'm trying to cut. Sometimes I just need a little bit of a weighted piece to hold something on my craft table. Well, I came up with this very cute idea to create a piece that's functional for my craft table. So let me show you what I did here. I took a piece of scrapbook paper and I have 2 craft woods from the Dollar Tree. They're 12 inches long, 3/4 inch thick. You'll need 2 of them for this project, and a piece of scrapbook paper, which I purchased at Hobby Lobby. I get mine every other week at 40% off. I have some Snow White Waverly chalk paint there, some Mod Podge, a sponge applicator, and of course a paintbrush. Of course, I'm going to be painting the ends of the woods. But this is a very easy project. And wait till you see how cute it turns out. Also, you will need a tape measure. Now, I decorated the top of my piece with some very pretty, colorful buttons to match or coordinate with my scrapbook paper. That's optional, of course. Here's the tape measure. You can pick this up at Walmart or Hobby Lobby, anywhere that they sell supplies for sewing. Now, I'm going to be using 2 woods, as I mentioned, and I did match my tape measure, of course, to my scrapbook paper, and you'll just need a pair of scissors and some tacky glue. This project couldn't be easier to do, but it was so much fun. I thought it was just a great idea, and I think I'm going to be using this a lot. So first thing I'm going to do is take some Gorilla Wood glue. Any wood glue will do. And I'm going to glue those 2 pieces of craft wood together, making sure it's nice and even. Now, of course, anytime you buy craft wood at the Dollar Tree, you do have to look at it to make sure, especially if you want it to fit together, that it's even, because craft woods are not all created equal at the Dollar Tree. Sometimes they're bowed, sometimes they're a little bit damaged, sometimes they're not exactly 12 inches. So you'll want to just look at those carefully. Now I'm just determining here how much scrapbook paper I need to go fit around the craft wood once I have them glued together. Now I have a little paper cutter here. I absolutely love these for cutting scrapbook paper. It isn't necessary, of course, to have this, but they're very nice to have for just cutting a quick straight line. You could pick these up at Walmart or any sewing or any place like a sewing place, anywhere like Joann Fabrics, any craft store, or on Amazon, of course. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to be using the method of applying scrapbook paper where you use either a Cricut heat press or an iron. So I'm going to go ahead and put a nice, generous layer of Mod Podge all around this wood piece now that I have it glued together. I'm going to let that fully dry. And in the meantime, while it's drying, I'm going to just paint the ends, because I'm not going to cover the ends of this piece with Mod Podge or with scrapbook paper. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. So I want to do something with the ends where I'm just finishing them up a bit. So I'm going to paint them white or whatever color you like to coordinate with your scrapbook paper. Now I have this piece that I cut, this scrapbook paper, and I'm going to wait again till that's fully dry. And I'm going to use my Cricut heat press. Now, if you don't have one of these fabulous little tools, I love this. It was a very good investment because I use it all the time. You can use an iron on a low heat setting and with no steam. Now, I'm going to be placing this scrapbook paper on my wood piece. I'm going to, after I'm finished, use a little zip sander to clean up the edges. I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper on there. And I'm going to go about applying heat to this scrapbook paper. And it is going to adhere so beautifully to that piece of wood. This is my favorite method of applying scrapbook paper to any type of piece. Now you might say, well, if I use a regular iron, it might be difficult. I still think it's very doable. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the heat, and you'll see how beautifully this adheres to this wood block. Now I'm going to have a seam. I created this piece so that when I wrapped my scrapbook paper around, I have a seam on one of the flat sides, or the larger, the thicker side. And that's going to be the bottom of my piece. So you can see there I have a little seam. If you have any overlap, very easy, you just put the some more Mod Podge on, press that down. Now for the thicker scrapbook paper or the more sturdy, heavier weight scrapbook paper, you put a generous coat of that Mod Podge before you do the heat process. If it's a thinner piece, you want to keep it a little bit lighter to avoid any type of rippling and bubbling. But that's the beauty of this method with the heat, is that it's really, you can avoid a lot of that rippling and the bubbling by using this heat method. Now to seal up the edge here, or the seam, I just use a little bit of scrapbook paper. And now my piece is all wrapped. Now why am I doing this? Because I like everything cute and pretty. So for my little piece that's going to go on my craft table, I wanted to make it look pretty and cute. So that's what I'm doing here. So now I'm just taking my zip sander and cleaning up the edges. Of course, we can't have unsightly edges for our little piece that's going to go on our craft table. All right, so now I had this idea to make this functional, aside from just being a little weighted piece to hold down, like, for example, my deco mesh while I'm cutting it. I decided to make it functional as well. So I picked up a tape measure to match my scrapbook paper, of course. You can pick up tape measures in a lot of different colors, white, pink, yellow. Just, I thought it would be cute if it matched. So I'm using my Aleene's tacky glue. I'm just going to put a stream of tacky glue along the bottom edge of my wood block. Now this will be the edge that rests on the table. So I can easily use this for just a quick measure of something. I'm going to wrap this all the way around the bottom edge of my block, as you can see here. So see, that's going to be a little quick piece that I could just pick up to measure something. And I thought that was a great idea. Just saying, I thought it was a great idea. Okay, so when I wrap it all the way around, and it's all finished going all the way around the bottom of that piece, I'm just going to cut it off. And now, as you can see, I have an extra little measuring tool on my craft table. Now, this could not be easier, quicker, or cuter to make. I absolutely love this, and I foresee that I'm going to be using this for all different purposes on my craft table. Now, of course, I wanted to dress it up a little further. You could do this step or not do this step. This is just me being me, doing something a little extra to dress up my piece. So I took 3 different twines that I picked up at the Dollar Tree that match my scrapbook paper. So I'm going to take all 3 of those pieces and cut them long enough to go all the way around that wood block. Now on the end here, I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue and I'm going to anchor those. And it's going to be placed halfway or at the line where I put those 2 pieces of wood together. There'll be a line there, of course, where a seam where you glued them. So I anchored all 3 pieces on the end. Now this is just a means of dressing up the piece a little bit, certainly not essential for anything having to do with function for the piece. Now I'm going to twist those. So now I'm going to have all 3 of those twines intertwined on my piece, and it's going to be twisted and just going to create an extra little fun element to the piece that picks up all the colors in my scrapbook paper. But it also, you're really not going to see the seam from the wood, but just in the event that you do, it's going to cover that seam up. And talk about a quick and easy project. This was it. But I just thought it was such a fun idea. And something fun you could do with those craft woods from the Dollar Tree. Again, these are the 12-inch long ones, 3/4 inch thick. By the way, all of the measurements for all the projects that I'm doing here today, I will have everything in the description box in case you don't remember exactly which woods that I used from the Dollar Tree. They do have different ones of different thicknesses, also of different lengths. Now I'm just taking my Aleene's tacky glue here and wrapping it all the way around. And now for an extra little bit of color and cuteness, I decided to put buttons on the top of my piece that pick up the colors in the scrapbook paper. Now again, of course, this certainly has nothing to do with the function of the piece. I just thought it was a cute idea. So I put those on there, and I just glued them on with Gorilla Glue. I'll show you here in just a minute. The reason why I chose this glue is because I love to decorate with buttons, and I've found that in the past that tacky glue doesn't necessarily hold them well, and hot glue either. So I made quite a few photo frames using colored buttons, and I've had the buttons fall off. So I've through trial and error, I've realized that you have to use either like an E6000 or that Gorilla Glue. So I kind of overlapped them a little bit and just placed them around the piece and on the top. And that's it. This is my project number 1, and I love it. I think you'll be seeing me use this on my craft table when I do a deco mesh wreath. All right, this one, I love this one. I used 18-inch long wood pieces from the Dollar Tree. They're a 1/4 inch thick. You're going to need 4 of them. Now check these in the store. Make sure that they're not bowed, and make sure that they're not, defective with any, gouges or anything out of them. I mean, you'll see everything at the Dollar Tree. Everything is not consistent. But do make sure that they're not bowed. Now, do they have to be exactly perfect? I would say the 2 that you're going to match up, yes. They need to be the same size. So in plain words, you need 2 exactly the same size and then another pair of them exactly the same size. The ones that goes on top that you're going to place the photo holders, those need to be even with one another. If they're a little bit shorter, one of the pairs, that's okay. But you're going to have a base where we're going to glue 2 pieces together, and then the 2 pieces on the top, which have to be even, those are going to be the ones that you're going to eventually glue together to place the photo holders in. I hope that all made sense, but I'll reiterate that as I go along. I put the feet on my piece, which I think made it really cute. You can use those wood dice from the Dollar Tree, or you can use some wood beads, whatever size you like. Or you can use wood cubes from the Dollar Tree. These are smaller than the wood dice, obviously. Or you can use Jenga blocks. I'm trying to give you lots of options here, and you can turn them different ways on there. I would use 4 on each end just to give you a little bit of height. I thought this looked cuter than just having it sit flat on a surface, to give it a little bit of lift and just give it some feet. So you're going to need some wood glue. I like Gorilla Wood Glue. I'm also going to be using scrapbook paper to cover these pieces. Now, I'm doing this one in a Christmas theme since Christmas is coming up. So I have a little Merry Christmas paper there, and I have a candy cane paper. I'm using 3 different pieces, and I'll show you what I do with these. And that's a Merry Christmas. Now, I'm going to advise, if you make this piece, to use a very busy scrapbook paper with a small type of pattern. This makes it easier to piece together or match up the pieces, because you're going to have to do that, because this scrapbook wood, what am I saying? This wood piece from the Dollar Tree is 18 inches long. and the scrapbook paper is only 12. So we are going to have to piece this. But if you use a busy scrapbook paper, no problem. It's not going to show when you piece it. All right, so I glued together these pieces that evenly match. Be sure they're even. And I put my clips on it. I'm just going to let that dry. Now that's going to be the base. Now these two pieces are going to sit on top. Those also need to be evenly matched. They don't have to be perfectly even in length with the base. It could be a little bit less, but you don't want it to be more. You don't want that piece to be hanging over the edge when you apply it to the base. Now, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be placing scrapbook paper on these pieces to decorate them and make them very colorful and festive for Christmas. Now, think about it. You could do this piece in any holiday, and you could place photos on it of family, or Christmases past, or Easter's past. You could decorate them for every holiday, or you could use an everyday pattern scrapbook paper and use it all year round. I thought this was a great idea. It just came to me out of the blue, like so many things do in crafting. I'm an idea girl, always coming up with some kind of idea for something. So I'm covering these scrapbook pieces. I did it again. These woods. What am I thinking? It's early in the morning while I'm doing this voiceover. Give me a break. Okay, so I'm going to cover these woods with Mod Podge, a nice, generous application, because the scrapbook paper that I'm using is a really nice thickness. Okay, so in the meantime, while that Mod Podge is drying, because I'm going to be applying that scrapbook paper, I got it right that time, to these woods. So I'm going to do it with the heat method again. So I'm going to go ahead and paint my feet. Now you'll want to paint the feet, whichever ones you choose to use, with a color of paint, acrylic, chalk, whatever you like. That's going to coordinate with your scrapbook paper. Okay, I have my ends all painted, and now you are going to be applying this scrapbook paper. You want to be sure, if you use a directional scrapbook paper, how you're applying that. So in plain words, with my other scrapbook papers I'm going to use, I have a line of words that says Merry Christmas. So I'm going to want to be sure to apply that horizontally on my piece. So obviously you're going to have to pay attention to what your pattern is of your scrapbook paper. So I just laid that scrapbook paper down on the table, and I placed my wood on there and just kind of did a loose wrap to see how much scrapbook paper it's going to take to wrap around that piece. So I put a little pencil line, and now I'm using my paper cutter to get a nice straight cut. Of course, you can use scissors as well. Just take a ruler and make a straight line and cut your paper. It's simple. You don't have to have a paper cutter. So I'm going to be wrapping that around, and again, I'm going to place my seam on one of the flat sides. This is going to be facing the bottom. And I'm going to take my parchment paper and my little Cricut mini heat press, and I'm going to start applying that scrapbook paper to the the wood. I can't seem to call those woods from the Dollar Tree what they really are. So bear with me. I seem to have a little issue this morning with talking. Okay, so I have my piece, I'm covering my piece with my scrapbook paper, and I make sure that I have the scrapbook paper wrapped around that wood very snugly. Um, I don't want any air pockets, if you will. So I make sure I pull it really, really taut. You see how I'm doing that? So I want that wrapped very nicely around that piece of wood from the Dollar Tree. And I do the ends as well. Now this is very doable, probably a little bit trickier if you're using an iron. I actually dropped mine a couple of times doing this, but maybe if you have an extra pair of hands to help you with this part, to help you hold the wood up. But I think it's very doable even if you have just an iron. You just want to be careful not to, of course, burn yourself. If you're an avid crafter, this would be an item that I would tell you to put in your craft arsenal. This is really an awesome thing to have. I use it all the time for different reasons. All right, so I'm finishing my wrap here and just applying that heat, which reactivates the Mod Podge, which gives you the most awesome, smooth, bubbleless, if that's a word, application to your wood. Look how pretty that is. Now, you're going to have to piece this. No matter how you slice it, no pun intended, slicing the paper, get it? Okay, you're going to have to piece this no matter what. So that's why I'm recommending you use a busy scrapbook paper. Now, this is my candy cane scrapbook paper. I guarantee you that you're not going to see that seam when I get finished. I do, however, place my scrapbook paper on there and try and get the best seam pattern to pattern that I can. But honestly, as I said, you're not going to see the seam. So piecing it is something that's absolutely necessary, but certainly nothing to be concerned about. Just pick a scrapbook paper that's very busy, as I said. All right, so I'm determining, again, how much paper it's going to take. Now, if you're using a directional type of scrapbook paper, like I'm using on my other pieces, be careful that you're cutting your scrapbook paper in the correct direction. The scrapbook papers are 12 by 12. So you just, as I said, need to be paying attention to the direction if you have it. This one doesn't. This particular piece is just candy canes everywhere. So I don't have to worry much at all about direction, but I do on my other pieces because those are, as I said, directional. Okay, so again, now because I'm piecing this, I'm going to start with the piece on the top side of my piece, not on the bottom side where the seam is, but on the top. This way it helps me to place my scrapbook paper so that I have the best seam and the most accurate seam and seamless seam, if you will. Did that make sense? Just so that you trying to match up the papers as well as I can, but also to have a nice straight seam. So I do, when I'm piecing something together like that, I'll start with the top side, the side that's most visible in plain words. Now look how pretty that wrapped so well with that method. And this turns out so cute. Okay, so I'm going to take a zip sander, clean up my edges, which again, that works so well. Now, this is my top piece that's going to sit vertically, standing up on that base. Now, these pieces have to be wrapped individually. You'll notice that I'm using 2 different scrapbook papers. Why did I do that? Well, I did it because my piece is going to be versatile and that you could turn it around and have a different look if you wanted to. So you could turn this piece around and use it looking at one side, and then when you get tired of that, you could turn it around for a different look. Yes, I did it. I thought it would be a great idea. So one side of my top piece is going to be red. This actually says Merry Christmas. You can't see it from, this high on the looking down on it. And then my other one also says Merry Christmas, but it's with a white background. Okay, again, so I just kind of do a loose fold to see how big of a piece I need. I put a little pencil mark. Now, those are already covered with Mod Podge, and I did the heat application because you already saw me do the other ones, so I didn't think it necessary to show you that. So now what I'm going to be doing is I ordered this, oh, goodness me, it's very early. These are my history of my dogs, or dogs in my life. So I thought I was going to just show you my dog pictures in lieu of showing you my family pictures. Now, I purchased these little photo holders. They're 5 inches long. I purchased these last year, but I'm sure I got them on Amazon. And as I recall, they had different sizes. Mine are 5 inches long. Now, you can keep these as long as you want or as short as you want. You could simply cut off any of the pieces that you don't want on there if you want them shorter with a pair of wire cutters. Now I'm placing my photo holders down because I want to see how am I going to place them on the piece. And I decided with this 18-inch long piece that I was going to bring my outside photo holders rings 2 inches from the outside and then 4 inches in between each of them. Now I'll put this in the description box. Don't worry about the measurements. I'll put everything in the description box. So my first holder is going to be 2 inches from the outside edges, and then after that I just place them 4 inches apart. Now what I'm going to be doing is sandwiching those photo holders in between my 2 pieces that I created to go on top of my base. So right now what I'm doing is trying to place them in there just to space them out. So I did that just a loose kind of a placement. One of them fell down to the bottom because it's not glued yet. And then just to get a good idea how I was going to place them, I put some clips. Now, I took Gorilla Glue. I don't know where the clip is for that. I'm sorry, I must have, thought I filmed it, but I just squirted Gorilla Glue all over one of the pieces, and then I put my photo holders in there, sandwiched them in and approximately where I wanted them, because I knew once I applied these 2 pieces of wood together, I would have time to readjust them because it wasn't hot glue. It was just Gorilla Glue, which takes a period of time to dry. So I placed them on there on the table, put my wood glue all over my wood piece, sandwiched it together, and put clips on it. Now I'm standing it on end there. Now I have time to rearrange. I could straighten out my photo holders if I don't have them exactly placed 4 inches apart. I can arrange them So now I'm just making sure that I have everything spaced out evenly. As you can see there, I have my first photo holder ring there, 2 inches from the edge, and then I do them every 4 inches. Now this will accommodate 4x4 photos. Now usually you can get a 4x6 printed out, and then you can trim them down. Or I believe you could put 3 4x6s. But I wanted to accommodate as many pictures as I could, or photos as I could. So I made mine so that I cut my photos down to 4x4 inches. So now I'm just going to have to let that dry. And it takes a little bit because it's Gorilla Glue, but I wanted something strong that would keep those photo holder rings firmly in there and to have the piece adhered. And again, I used Gorilla Glue. You could use E6000 as well. Sorry, I didn't show you that gluing process, but it was easy. I just squirted glue all over in between those wood pieces. Now I'm going to be taking that wood piece, and it's going to go on top of my base. But right now you can see I have it very well clipped with Dollar Tree clips. I love these clips. I use them all the time. I got some Gorilla Glue spilled out on my table there. Now at this point, while that's drying, and I did give it like a good hour and a half to dry. Now I'm going to take my little painted wood dice cubes that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put my feet on. And I thought this looked so cute on each end. Now you could use wood beads. That would look good as well. Jenga blocks, like I said, those little wood, little dice, those little wood pieces, not the dice pieces, but the little wood cubes. That's the word I'm looking for. And I'm going to let that dry. Now I have cute little feet for my piece. And there it is. Look how cute that is. Guys, tell me, is this not a good idea or what? Let me know what you think of this in the comments, because I just think this is a great creative piece, if I do say so myself. Okay, so now I'm going to take my piece. It's all dry. Now you can see what I meant about how I can turn this piece around and have a different look. I could have more red if I want, or I can have it with the white background. So now I'm actually showing you the glue process. That's the glue that I used to adhere those two pieces together. Sorry about that. I thought I filmed that. But I can tell you that sometimes in the process of, when I'm creating my pieces, I'm figuring this out as I go along. So I'm kind of like, immersed in all that. And at the same time, I'm trying to film everything. So I guess I neglected to show you the gluing process. But honestly, it's not a big deal. Just squirt it on and, put the two pieces together. And we're good. Okay, so now I'm putting my little photo holder there right down the center of my base. Now, my piece on top was about 1/4 inch shorter than my base, but that's perfectly fine. And you can see that if you look on the edges. But I actually thought that looked good. So, this doesn't have to be perfection here. It's a very cute photo holder piece. So, look, it's all dry now. Look at my photo holder rings. And that's where I'm going to put my photos. Now, I left mine long, okay, because I thought for Christmas that it would be cute to put some greenery sitting on that ledge there at the base of the photo holder rings. And if you look on my finished piece, you'll see what I mean. Now, if you want those rings, those photo holder rings shorter, just use wire cutters, cut them shorter. Now, of course, I think this needs an embellishment because it's for Christmas. So, got to have something. So I'm showing you there's some options. Those are ornaments. I ended up putting a gnome on mine because I love gnomes. But you could use some of these wood cutout pieces that you could pick up at the Dollar Tree when they get all the Christmas stuff in, or Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and paint them. You could cover some wood circles with scrapbook paper and make them ornaments and place them on that little ledge there where you see me placing the gnome. Now look how cute that was sitting on there. I'm just putting a little wood glue and I'm going to apply mine. Now, if I want to, I can apply one on the other side too. Maybe something different. Look how cute. Now, as I mentioned, you can also put I'm sorry, can't speak this morning, a little greenery garland. You'll see how I did that. All right, project number 3. Now, you know those calendar pages that you just can't seem to throw away because they're so pretty, but you don't know what the heck to do with them? Well, I'm going to show you a cute idea to make them into like a little wall hanging, maybe to place over your desk or in your laundry room or in your kitchen, because you don't want to just stick the calendar page to the wall. Okay, so this is a cute idea to finish those pages. Now, this is a cute Susie Toronto calendar. I love these. They have a lot of fun wording on them. But think about it. Calendar pages are so pretty. You could do something really cute with this or really pretty with this, depending on, what kind of calendar page it is. This one's obviously very cute. So I chose a scrapbook paper that coordinated with my calendar page. So I'm going to use a golden yellow with white polka dots. Now, I measured out how long I wanted my pieces to go on the top and the bottom. I did have to cut mine because I used an 18-inch long wood piece from the Dollar Tree, a 1/4 inch thick, the same one I used for my photo holder. But obviously 18 inches is too long because the calendar page is 12 inches. So I cut mine down. Now you can do yours however you like. Maybe you want it an even 12 inches with your calendar page, or maybe you want a little bit of overhang, if you will, or a little bit extended on the sides of your calendar page. I did. So you can see here that I'm covering all sides of the pieces that I cut. I just used a handsaw to do mine, but you could use, of course, a jigsaw or just have someone cut it for you. But again, how long you want your top and bottom piece is up to you. I believe that I cut mine to 14 inches. And I painted the ends. After I finished Mod Podging and let that all dry, I'm going to use the same process that you saw me using for all of those other pieces in Project 1 and 2. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is adhering those to the edges of the calendar page. Okay, so I'm showing you options that I had for my piece. Of course, everything is relative to what your calendar page colors has on it. So I ended up using the golden yellow because that my calendar page had a lot of golden yellow on it. It also had black, so I considered using that black. So I did. I checked. I cut my woods in 14-inch pieces. I sanded the edges before I painted them, and now the Mod Podge is all dry. And again, I'm going to cover these pieces just like I covered the other ones. And yes, I had to piece them. So you'll want to use a scrapbook paper that has a tiny pattern or a very busy pattern. So you have to think about that when you're purchasing your scrapbook paper. I always purchase my scrapbook paper at Hobby Lobby. Every other week it's 40% off. And I usually go to the section with the single sheets when I'm doing a project like this, because you can just pick up one piece if you only need one piece. I do love the booklets of scrapbook paper as well, but they tend to have thinner scrapbook paper. Some of them don't. Some of them have a heavier, more cardstock type paper, but for these pieces, I wanted a heavier piece, and I like going to the single sheet section because it offers me a lot of choices to choose from. So again, I did a loose fold around the piece to see how much I needed. I used my cutter to cut it, and as I did for all of my other pieces in these projects, I'm going to be covering the woods with the scrapbook paper. I'm going to align it with the edge, and I'm going to start with the flat side that's going to be showing on the front of my calendar page. And then the seam is going to be on the underside or the other flat side. You'll see what I mean by that here in a minute. It's just the same as I did with all of the other projects. And I use my heat press, which gives me a beautiful, smooth application. Now, be careful to fold your piece over of the scrapbook paper nice and snug up against that wood. You don't want any creases. You want a nice, snug fit, if you will. And then I do the sides. And again, a little trickier if you're using a bigger iron. Maybe if you had an extra pair of hands, because as you can see, I dropped mine. But using the little press makes it a little easier. But again, very doable if you don't have a Cricut mini heat press. Now, I wish that I didn't have to piece this, but I did because I chose to use a 14-inch long piece. You could, yes, use a 12-inch piece because most calendar pages are 12 inches. But I'm going to tell you that you're going to have an absolutely perfectly cut 12-inch piece of wood from the Dollar Tree if you do that. And then you're not going to have any edge extending beyond your calendar page. So it's going to have to be a perfect fit, and you're going to have to be happy with the look of it if you choose to do it to be completely even with your calendar page. So it's going to have to be a perfect fit is what I'm trying to say here. I chose to have mine, again, extending a little bit beyond my calendar page. And now I'm finishing up on the underside where my seam is. If you have any overlap, you can always just put a little more Mod Podge on there and just press it together like I have right there. See, I have that? So you just put a little Mod Podge on that and just let it dry. You don't have to iron over that part. That's on the underside, so you're just basically using the Mod Podge as glue to finish your seam off. Now I'm going to, of course, finish up my edges with my zip sander. You can use a sanding block or a piece of sandpaper. Now, as I did my other pieces, I put my scrapbook paper on the top to try and match up as best I can the pattern. So I want to be certain to do that, and then I just use a pencil to mark the area where I need to cut. As you can see, these paper cutters are awesome to have. Another good investment. They're not expensive at all and so functional. Really great to have in your craft tool arsenal, if you will. Okay, so now I'm going to finish off my piece there, starting again where I have to match up my pattern. I'm going to do my heat application of that scrapbook paper on the wood first. That way I'm sure that my pattern is matched up as well as possible. But honestly, again, like I said, if you use a busy pattern like I did, you're not going to see the seam. All right, so I have my pieces all ready to go. Now, one note, if you have a seam that's bothering you, that you feel like you can see it, put it on the top, because I have, of course, a little embellishment that where you can actually camouflage the seam. Okay, so I took some black cord. Mine is a little bit thicker cord. Now, you could also be creative with your hanger. I just used a piece of thicker black cord for mine. I have a lot of black in my calendar page. But think about it. You could use twine and make a beaded design on your hanger. You could also make a bow and put it at the top of your hanger. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I have to be very careful here because this is the area where the calendar page was pulled away from the spiral. So it's got a lot of little holes. So, that is a great place to get burnt with your hot glue. Now you want to just put it at the very edge so that you can preserve as much of the look of your calendar page as possible. For me, that was important because of my particular calendar page, but maybe you don't have to worry so much about that. Putting it right at the edge, maybe you could put it a little bit more into the calendar page if your particular page allows you to do that and not disturb the look of the page, if that makes sense. All right, now I'm here at the top, right along the edge. I'm going to take my hot glue, put a nice stream of that along the edge, and I'm going to place my wood piece there and make sure that it's in alignment with your bottom piece. Now this is going to give you a nice little finished look so you can create like a wall hanging, if you will, with your calendar pages. And the great thing about calendar pages is they have a nice vertical edge there. So it's nice and finished. Now look, we have a wall hanging, and there's my calendar on the back there. Now I'm going to place my hanger on there, and I'm going to place it in a little diagonal placement there. And I had placed my my hanger on there about the length that I wanted it. And again, you could create put some little wood beads that pick up the colors in whatever your calendar page has on it. If you wanted to, you could do that. You could also put a bow right there where I just had the point, where I had my finger there. You could place a bow at the top. Make a cute little bow to pick up the colors in your piece. Right there at the top where my finger is right now. You could put a bow there. Okay, now I created a little black bow. One is a plainer black ribbon, and then I coupled it with a polka dotted one. You've seen me make 1,000 bows. I didn't show you making the bow. It's just a figure 8 bow. And I created it for the corner. I placed it kind of at an angle, and I put a little golden yellow sunflower in the middle. Now you can do this step or not do this step. For me, everything gets a bow. So I decided to embellish my piece a little bit, and I think that looks so cute. Now, this was so inexpensive. I took a calendar page that would otherwise be discarded, and I made a very cute wall hanging out of it. And you could do that too. Now, I hope you'll be thinking about those calendar pages that you've been saving and how you could do a cute project with them. So here's my little craft table piece. I love it. And I think you're going to be seeing me using this in the future. Here is my Christmas photo holder with some greenery. Look how cute that is. I put some pit berries in there. And there's my dogs, my Savannah and Isabel, my chocolate lab. She passed away. And then the beagle is my grandson's dog. And she's like mine as well, so I put her in there as well. Oh, my fur babies. I hope you love this one. And here we have that calendar page. If you are not currently a subscriber, I hope you will become one. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this tutorial. And let me know what you think of these pieces in the comments. Also share my videos with friends and family. I appreciate that. Okay, until next time, you all take care.